And at this point in time, it is my pleasure to get us started by introducing our host, Dr. Edward Seidel, the president of the University of Wyoming, and the president and CEO of the Council on Competitiveness, Deborah Wince-Smith, to the stage.
Well, thanks, Bill. And it is such a pleasure to welcome you all. And in many cases, I'm seeing old friends that I haven't seen in a while. So I see a few of you around here and a lot of new people that I'm meeting today. And we couldn't be more pleased and privileged, and I would say, truly honored to be able to host this event. I've been involved with the council in different capacities over many years. And I remember perhaps the last time we really engaged in person that I engaged in person with you all was at the Arizona State meeting. And so I see this as kind of like a next in that sequence. And it's just a fabulous group for those of you who are just getting familiar with it. Of course, many of you know this very well. Let me just say a factoid or two about Wyoming. So first of all, I think you have, if you're from the outside and you don't know what to expect, I hope you're smiling and impressed with what you've seen here. This building, for example, is the foundation for the University of Wyoming that raises money. We do have a roughly $900 million endowment, which is very, very hefty for a school of our size. And we also have other big numbers. We are the size of the United Kingdom with only 500,000 people to share all that space. So you would drive around and you can literally go for a couple hundred miles in some places with really not seeing a gas station, but you'll find people extremely friendly. And this is a place that can really do stuff. And I'll come back to that in a minute. So anyway, just a few words about the university and the state, which I've come to really love. And in fact, my first couple days here, somebody said to me, "Oh, the rodeo coach wants to meet with you." And it shows how far I'm outside. I'm embarrassed for those of you from Wyoming to say this, but I'm like, we have a rodeo coach? And so we do. We have a great rodeo team. And in fact, the rodeo coach got me some cowboy boots, which I'm not wearing today, but I might bring him in tomorrow as well. So anyway, it's a wonderful place. So welcome to the Mountain West Innovation Summit and to the university. And I want to recognize the other summit co-host at this time. So first, Greg Hill, the president and COO of Hess Corporation. Is Greg on Zoom, or I don't know if Greg's here, but Greg has been deeply involved and lives up in Jackson, is a member of our foundation board, but he had, I think, a broken leg that had to be further mended. So he wasn't able to come at the last second, but he's been deeply engaged in the planning. And so Greg, if you're out there, I know you're with us, at least you're gonna be here virtually. Dr. John Wagner, the laboratory director at Idaho National Lab. So John. And of course, the Honorable Deborah Wince-Smith, the president and CEO of the Council on Competitiveness. And I'll ask her to come up here in just a minute. But before I do that, just a couple more words just about organization. So for the next couple of days, we are all going to have presentations and I hope a lot of deep conversations about the future of innovation. And in particular, one of the themes that's very important to me is the future of innovation in rural ecosystems, place-based innovation. And we'll hear a lot about that going forward. And then we have a lot to offer and a lot to contribute. And we'll have a little breakout session in a while to talk about these kinds of things. But we'll also have some terrific keynote speakers. So Tony Aquila, the chair and CEO of Canoe. I don't know, is Tony here yet? I haven't seen Tony, but Tony is well known to the university here. And Dr. Erwin Johnson-Donnie. Is Erwin here? I didn't see him either yet, but I think he's coming in just before his talk. But he's assistant director for the brand new technology innovation and partnerships directorate at the National Science Foundation. So you'll hear a little bit more about that. That is a tectonic shift in the American national ecosystem and certainly at the National Science Foundation. I was an assistant director there for 4 years, so I know how big a deal that is. And we'll also have Governor Mark Gordon here this evening giving a keynote, the governor of Wyoming, and someone who's very deeply involved in what we're doing here and a big booster of not just the university, but of higher education and of economic development across the state. So thanks everybody for participating. And I'd like to now just welcome Deborah Wince-Smith to the stage, the podium.
Thank you, President Seidel, for those very warm and welcoming remarks. And thank you for hosting us at this beautiful campus and here at the Gateway Center. It really is spectacular. I want to first welcome everyone who has come to Laramie. Some of you, we have seen each other on virtual Zooms over the last few years, but we have not seen each other in person for a long time. So it's great to be together. I have to call out that Marianne and Sally, we were all together in Brazil in March. So that was an early reunion, but we're very happy to be here. This is my first visit to Wyoming and to Laramie, so it's very, very exciting. Tomorrow, we're going to have a special talk from President Seidel on the university and its initiatives and everything. So I won't say too much about it, but I wanted to say a few interesting things about Wyoming and the university. You know, it was established in 1886 as one of the nation's land grant colleges. And many of you know that whole network of our land grant colleges and universities is really the reason why the United States is the preeminent producer and exporter of agricultural products in the world. Very important in today's environment. But from 1948 to 2017, total US agricultural output almost tripled, even though total labor hours worked in the sector had declined more than 80%. And I share that because it's a very powerful metric on why our investments in R&D and the work that's being done at our university here and around the world are so important. Some of you know that I'm trained as an archaeologist, and as I get older, I'm going back to all my archaeology. And so I'm very interested in some of the history and quirky things about different places. And Laramie has a very interesting history. In the mid 18th century, the old Laramie city was an archetype of the Wild West tough town. It's the kind we all read about in books and we saw in movies. But the real legend of Laramie began with the arrival of the Union Pacific Transcontinental Railroad, which brought with it dreams of riches, rapid development. And we could really say that the Transcontinental Railway in the 19th century was the equivalent in terms of impact and transformation of the internet and our virtual communication networks that enable us to work and live and think around the world. But that economic potential attracted so many fortune seekers, and Laramie populated very, very quickly with investors, entrepreneurs, prospectors, rail workers. But I have to also say, and we like this in the movies, gunslingers and gamblers, outlaws and highwaymen, notorious saloons, desperados, dance halls. And it was, however, in spite of all of this that's in the legend of Laramie, it was the railroad, the infrastructure platform that was the game changer, bringing the livestock and agricultural sectors rapidly to the fore. And this underpinned Laramie's economy for nearly a century. And over time, Laramie evolved from, yes, a hot spot for entrepreneurs and all kinds of wild things in the West, to today, a hot spot for today's outdoor enthusiasts, for sports, for the beauty of our nature as a center of our oil and gas industry. And we're going to hear about the new cryptocurrency industry that's coming here as well. So we've gathered today to come together in Laramie under the auspices of the Council's National Commission on Innovation and Competitiveness Frontiers. And we're delighted that all three of our national commissioners hail from the Mountain State that are hosting this. President Seidel, of course, Greg Hill, who cannot be with us, but I understand he's coming in virtually tomorrow. And Dr. John Wagner, who's the director of the Idaho National Lab, the nation's premier enterprise in nuclear energy research and development, demonstration, and deployment. Home to 5,300 scientists, engineers, and an unparalleled advanced test reactor and doing amazing things in advanced critical materials. And I've had the pleasure to come to Idaho many times over the years and look forward to coming back. The Council on Competitiveness Leadership chartered this National Commission on Innovation and Competitiveness back in 2019 to deal with the challenges that really had been brought about by new competitive realities. Obviously, the unprecedented economic and societal opportunities and security opportunities created by a new era of technological innovation and transformation, as well as how this was affecting work and the change that it brought to global competition and the rise of China and other parts of the world. So geopolitical, economic, security issues all coming together in new ways, calling for a new roadmap, a new policy agenda for the United States to compete and prosper in the years to come. Well, we started the work of the commission in 2020 at a great meeting in Arizona. And when we think of what happened in 2022 and 2021 and where we are today, the profound changes that have accelerated make the work of the commission more important than ever. But one of the things that I want to share before we get into our work is that the goals of the commission in our first report, Competing in the Next Economy, the New Age of Innovation, had a very powerful call to the nation, which is really more relevant than ever, particularly coming out of the COVID pandemic and, of course, the geopolitical tectonic shifts that have occurred with Putin's invasion of Ukraine, exacerbating energy supplies, energy costs, massive inflation, food scarcity, disruption of critical supply chains, the list goes on and on. But what we called for in the commission's report after the work of many working groups over a very intense year was that we needed to boost US innovation, sustainability, and resiliency capability tenfold. We needed to increase the number of innovations we develop and deploy at scale. We needed to increase the speed at which we innovate and deploy across all enterprises. We needed to increase the number of Americans engaged in innovation, but also increase where they are living and working in innovation. And we needed to embed sustainability and resiliency into all dimensions of our work and life. We're very pleased that the recommendations in Competing in the Next Economy report, many of them have actually found their way into very important legislations that's underway. And a major theme that we're going to carry forward today and the work coming in the next year and a half to two is that we need to expand the geographic footprint of US innovation beyond the US coast and our well-known high-tech hubs, and to bring more people and more places into our innovation economy as participants and beneficiaries. And most importantly, we need to leverage existing assets and build new capabilities and propel new growth, inclusive growth, and prosperity in regions and communities throughout our great country. So we're really thrilled to come to the Mountain State region to have this Mountain West Innovation Summit to kick off phase 2 of the commission's work. We're going to look at engaging more regions in our conversation about innovation. We're going to learn about lessons on the ground and the challenges of how regions can and their communities can give voice to their capabilities and share their experiences. And very importantly, over the next 2 days in the breakout sessions, we're going to launch critical next generation policy work and hopefully new public-private partnerships and private sector-led initiatives to advance the sustainability, clean energy transformation, the acceleration and deployment of our disruptive emerging technologies, and the future of work that's being completely changed before our eyes, as well as how we are going to work on many of the bipartisan political initiatives through legislation and through partnerships across our country. We are going to ask you to be very creative, to be bold, and to kind of come outside of what may be your traditional area of work and think across the sectors, which is part of what the council does in a very exciting way. We like to say we are, yes, thought leadership generators, but we're also systems integrators. And so we hope that you will really push the envelope as we do this work so that when we have the meeting of our National Commission in Washington on July 13th. We will have a very robust set of ideas to present coming out of this second launch. Before I ask Dr. Wagner and Dr. Seidel to come back up for our first panel, I want to recognize two commissioners who are here, Steve Stavanovich. I saw you, Steve, over there, and Josh Parker as well. Thank you very much for coming. I know that our colleague, Dr. Irwin Gianchandani, may not be here yet, but as Ed said, we're really, really honored and thrilled that he came. I think this is one of the first places in the country he's coming in his new leadership role. And so I think everybody else may be a little jealous, Ed, that we have him here with us today. And I also want to thank from the White House, Joyce Carell, who's the Senior Advisor for Cybersecurity, for joining us as well. And finally, you know, this could not have been put together without a great team. And one of the team leaders who's not with us, and you all know, is Chad Evans, the Executive Vice President of the Council. He came down with acute appendicitis and is recovering. And I know he feels very, very sad he's not with us today and tomorrow, but I assured him we will work very, very hard. And I want to thank my other colleagues, Bill Bates and Yasmin Hilbert, for their work. And of course, the University of Wyoming team that I know that Ed will recognize as we go forward.